Howdy, folks. Welcome to this week's Ag Report. So this week, we're going to kind of venture out maybe a little bit, to everybody's life. Everybody at some point has probably had to order parts for things, whether that's your washing machine or your car, your lawnmower, that kind of stuff. So I'm going to specifically talk about big trucks, even tractors in there. So used to, when you went to the dealership or the parts house, they basically wanted to know two things: the year of the vehicle and the make and model. And so in this case, we're talking about my Peterbilt 359 truck to 1974. And so generally, that's what you could kind of go in there and tell them what it is, and they would start looking it up. And then depending on whether you're talking about a part for the frame or a part for the cab or a part for the motor, then they might ask you a couple of more questions and just say what motor is in there, what transmission, that kind of stuff. A lot of times those guys switching gears a little bit at the parts house where Deere years ago, there was a guy named Buddy, and he kept a paper notebook of all the combines that guys had in the county. So when you came in there, he could flip through that notebook, and he'd have all the pertinent information kind of written down. He kept a little log of it. And then he also, it was kind of like a genealogy. He would keep track of who bought it and who sold it to who and who owned it now and that kind of stuff. So you could kind of find out where your machine was in history. And this was all in a little paper book long before computers and stuff. And then he'd pull out a great big old book and he'd flip through there to, find the parts on there. But anyways, it's different nowadays. So I fast forward talking about my Peterbilt truck. So nowadays, the last probably 10 years, really, if you go into to an automobile dealership, whether that be Ford or Chevy or Dodge or Honda or whatever, they really don't care anymore about make and model. What their first thing they're going to ask you is, what is the last 8 numbers of the VIN? And that pretty much is going to tell them everything they want to know. They don't want to hear anything else from you. So Peterbilt, same thing. So I've been getting parts for a lot of years from Dallas Peterbilt up there. Had a friend that was a mechanic up there for many, many years. I think about 30 years or so. And so anyways, he had retired. I needed some parts. I called the part counter and I said, hey, I've got a Peterbilt here. I need deal. First right out of the box, give me the last 8 digits of the VIN number. I said, well, my truck is a little older and it doesn't have 8 digits. It only has 6. I'm sorry, I need the last 8 digits of the VIN. And I said, well, no, you're not hearing me. It doesn't have 8 digits. There's only 6. They hadn't invented 8 digits yet on this truck. He's like, well, that won't enter into my computer. It doesn't compute. I can't help you. And I'm like, really? I'm like, I get parts here, all the time. So I called my friend up. He had already retired a year or two. And I tell him, what's going on. I said, he can't get me any parts because his computer won't tell him what to do. There's not enough digits in my VIN. So he hangs up and he calls the guy and he says, okay, young man. He said, look, he goes, these vehicles that don't have 8 digits in their VIN, you need to go into the attic and you need to get on the microfiche machine and look it up. And the young man's like, what on earth are you talking about? What's a microfiche? So he had to explain to him what microfiche was and how to operate the little reader, the little microfiche machine, and to look it up. And so anyways, it's quite humorous. Yes, I do have some older equipment that doesn't register sometimes on modern computers. And for that matter, sometimes the younger guys that are operating the computers, and man, they can do good job on those computers, but when you don't have enough digits to fill in, that computer won't work. It kind of malfunctions and says, sorry, I need more information. So anyways, a little funny there about getting parts. And, it kind of brings to mind those of you that might have kids or grandkids. It's funny, we talk about microfiche, and that young man had never heard the word microfiche in his life. Okay, never even seen what a microfiche was. Grandfathers, parents, and stuff like that, when y'all go around, with your kids or grandkids to get parts, doesn't matter how menial it may seem, let your kids tag along with you. Let them be a part. They may not be that interested, but things like that microfiche and stuff like that might just kind of, sink into their mind, and they might remember that, so that when they grow up, they kind of, they heard of those things, or they maybe have seen those things or something like that. It's a good way to kind of just, have them involved and have them acclimated into different things like that. You never know what they might pick up and they might remember. Obviously, this young man had never been carried around to parts houses when he was kids and stuff like that, and didn't get to see that. So if you can, take them with you. And, as they get, a little bit older in age, let them do the parts ordering. Let them, whether it's in person or online, let them go up to the counter and say their name, and I'm here to pick up some parts, something like that. You can kind of, stand back over there in the spray can section or something like that and keep an eye on them. But, it does a whole lot for their self-esteem, and they're able to communicate, with other folks and stuff like that. So I remember doing that, as a kid. Kind of scared me sometimes, kind of had to have a hot shot sometimes prod me along there, but it was a good thing. So take your kids with you, boys or girls, doesn't matter. They can both do it. Give them the opportunity to talk to those salesmen. And most of the time you'll find you a good salesman that will kind of cater to that kid. And, who knows, might give them a little cap, or, a pen, or a little calendar to stick on the dash or something like that. And that'll sure make a memory for that youngster. So anyways, y'all have a good week. Take care now.